Hey everybody, Harry here to talk about a story that might have escaped your notice last week with the torrent of other news, especially on the document scandal. But it was a fairly important and kind of satisfying story in the overall rejection by the courts in particular of the whole Trump playbook. So, we've seen before, this is what happened with Judge Cannon and that whole frolic and detour that finally got shut down. He loves to file suit in Florida, where he hopes he'll get friendly judges, challenging for every kind of lunatic, bizarro theory under the sun with no legal basis, something that's happening in another state. So there's two such cases before the same district court judge in Florida. And in one of them, he sues Hillary Clinton and everybody around for supposedly obscuring the real role of Russia and Ukraine and spreading this misinformation that Russia interfered with the 2016 election. Another word for that misinformation, of course, would be fact. But the defendants on the other side moved for sanctions. They had to, you spend time and money to defend, and they brought a motion to recover all the time and money they had spent to respond to this really very crazy and out there and yet characteristically Trumpian lawsuit. So in terms of his overall playbook, which I've always found to be very thin, he does the same thing again and again. He's not very versatile. So as to this tactic, what happens? Well, the judge decided the case last week. Here's how his opinion began. Here, we are confronted with a lawsuit that should never have been filed, which was completely frivolous, both factually and legally, and which was brought in bad faith for an improper purpose. Wow, at that point, you know you're in big trouble. And indeed, he goes on to give almost $1 million in sanctions for the cost of defending this frivolous lawsuit. And he holds that money has to be paid jointly. Two debts here. One, Trump's repeat lawyer in a lot of these ridiculous cases, a woman named Alina, and Trump himself is on the hook for this near $1 million. And I think it's going to hold up. It's going to be a check that has to be written to the other side. And the judge, Middlebrooks, down in Florida, went through their complaint and the things they were saying. Here's a summary. The amended complaint, writes the judge, is a hodgepodge of disconnected, often immaterial events, followed by an implausible conclusion. This is a deliberate attempt to harass, to tell a story without regard to facts. And he's, simply doing it for political reasons, no good legal reasons. And Middlebrook finishes by putting the sort of cherry on top. He is the mastermind of strategic abuse of the judicial process, and he cannot be seen as a litigant blindly following the advice of a lawyer. He's part of the problem here. He's, in fact, the kind of leading force, so the sanctions run against him as well personally. So one of his other reasons for doing this crazy abuse of the court strategy has been you can always put this on the lawyers and then not pay them, etc. But this is a strategy that goes way, way, way back. Michael Cohen and before, this is what he does in New York, sues with ridiculous theories. There's a punchline here. There were two suits I mentioned, and Middlebrook referred to both of them and was, disparaging, although brief, about the other one. The following day, Friday, Donald Trump voluntarily dismissed the other lawsuit. He blinked, in other words. The man who can only plow forward and double down actually flinched and voluntarily dismissed the other frivolous lawsuit because, he knew that bad stuff was coming if he tried to pursue it. So, as I said, that's kind of satisfying in and of itself because he is sort of abusive. It's also, I think, an overall, just one more indication of the way that society, may be led by some of the courts, is turning, against him and kind of onto his tricks and not just showing him the respect that a former president might be thought to deserve. So this is a repeat tactic, as I've said, and the judge just kicked out the feet from under it, leaving Trump, sprawling and on the hook for $1 million. So, as an overall process by which people are saying no mas to Donald Trump, it's in and of itself a pretty big and, as I say, satisfying development. Okay, so there you have it. Trump sanctioned and reacts by blinking and withdrawing his other lawsuit. So there'll be less to report on that ground, but plenty of other stuff around. And it looks like a week that's going to be chock-a-block with news. So I'll be back to talk to you about it. Until then, talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.